Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today we are tackling the brand new event boss. This thing is no joke. This is probably one of the hardest event bosses we've had so far. Not only is it a high DPS check, it also does a lot of stuff to you, which can be a problem, and I'm going to try my best to kind of explain how to deal with it, and I'm going to go through multiple team comps, so if you don't have a hero in one of these, don't worry, I'm going to show another version, but it is hard, okay? I'm going to arm you with everything you need to know, but if you cannot hit the max reward, do not feel upset. Poison comp is king right here for this one. Ingrid is insanely strong. Praetus teams are amazing. Cassiel's actually good, genuinely, which is kind of impressive. There are some Valderon teams, but ultimately it's mostly Infernal because of Hex. It's Esotericist and it's Ingrid. Those are the three things you're gonna generally see the most. You can go through all of these leaderboard lists if you want. The first team I'm gonna show you guys is going to be this team. As you can see, I do not have Nastia. I pulled Vorn literally today, and Ingrid is obviously the MVP. If you have an A3 Ingrid, this is going to be honestly pretty easy for you. But if you don't have Ingrid, you're going to struggle quite a bit more. Now, this team is using a very specific strategy that utilizes having an extra boss DPS in the form of Talon, which allows me to do a little bit more damage. I am able to cap out at about 296 million with no Nastia at all. Now, does this put me on the leaderboard? I don't think so, but it is still a pretty interesting run. And then I'll move on to one that doesn't use Ingrid and one that doesn't use poison comps, blah, blah, blah. But this is where I'm going to explain to you guys in depth on how the stage works. The main things you need to know is the boss has a couple stages. First of all, we're going to get a tail on the left. This is going to have to be bursted down. Then we're going to get a hand at about where my mouse is, which we're going to also have to burst down. And then after that point, we're going to get to the main boss area where the boss is going to spawn at the top with its head. And we need to DPS the boss down as fast as possible. At the bottom, there's going to be a lot of minions that we have to deal with, but mostly you just want to try to stack as much damage on the boss as fast as possible, because what the boss does is the boss just randomly, well, not randomly, but after a while, the boss just kind of comes down and kills your left and your right side. And then a little bit later, it'll do it again. And they'll do it again until all of your tiles that you can place units on are completely dead and you lose because you are lacking damage now. That's how the boss works. So what you need to do is you need to burst it down as fast as possible. There's a lot of attacks. There's one that steals all your rage and makes it so your ults are all at 0%. There's one that does a lot of AoE damage. But for most of this, we're going to do a bunch of DPS. Talon with an Icarus Chalice is a must. You'll see why in a second. And then we need at least one healer for the strategy I'm going to show you guys. Editing Destined here. A couple of things to note about this team is I actually don't have good gear on Wukong. He should have Soulbound. I didn't build him at all. I missed him completely. So that's not good, obviously. And another thing that I didn't really mention too much is the boss is heavily resistant to defense. So the reason why we're using so many magic DPS and you need so much magic DPS is for that magic resistance being very low. It supports a lot of magic DPS. A couple things that you could use that aren't magic DPS are Wukong if he's A5. You could use something like a Cassiel if you're going to use a Praetus team, and Valderon, maybe Ardea. Those are really the only valid options. Actually, never mind, this guy didn't even use Ardea. Valderon can be used, but ultimately he's not that great. So those are really the only physical DPS. Maybe you could run a Falcia if you would like. Falcia's not the worst. He barely used Falcia. You get what I mean, though. You want to go with magic. Later on, I'm going to show you guys different strategies that maybe utilize the stage a bit more normally. This is a very unique strategy that you're probably not going to see much of anywhere else. So what we're going to do is we're going to put Talon here to clear this first group. Generally, you would want an AoE DPS for the bottom, but not the way that I'm doing this. What I'm doing is I'm putting Arrogance here. Then, past that point, you want to have some DPS on the tail. There's two ways I could do this. Number one is I put Ingrid here because if you face someone to the left, they will target all three of the things that you need to kill, which is where you want to put your DPS. But later on in the stage, this is going to be the first tile to go, which is going to heavily limit your DPS. So you can do one of two things. You can either put your best DPS there to burst down the beginning part as soon as possible, or alternatively, you can try to put your DPS somewhere on this tile in order to keep them alive for a lot longer. This is how I did my run, so I'm going to put Ingrid there. We're going to put our Diao-chan right there, swap her, and we're going to just keep things going. So as you can see, Arrogance ult will give him more range, so then he'll kill these guys at the bottom. We're going to Talon ult here to clear, and as soon as Talon finishes her ult, we're going to sell her. Now Hex also works for Talon slot, but I used Talon personally. Then we are going to place down our Numera right here, facing up. We're going to put our Aelin, then we are going to put our Wukong, and then finally our Vorn, and that is going to be everything. So right there you can see that the tail just died, and now Ingrid's going to obviously start to kill the rest as well. Vorn we can place here. You can face him up, you can face him to the left or the right. I think the left might actually be better to deal damage to this hand, but I didn't do it because I didn't realize I could do that. So that's a little bit of an optimization you can do there. We're going to save Talon right here. And the weird strategy that I'm using is going to become apparent as soon as we reach the third phase. This is the boss rush. This is where you need to deal as much damage as fast as you can. We're going to phase Talon up. Now she's not going to last the entire fight, but for a decently long amount of time, she's going to stay here outside of any healer's range. And she's just going to continue doing damage to the boss. And we have Arrogance here. Any fighter works. Ymrit works. Most of any fighter that does AoE damage works. He's just there because he's able to go in Aelin's ult range and deal damage on the bottom. That's why he's there. And in the meantime, we're going to click as many ults as we can. Now, I don't have the full poison comp, so we are going to be a little bit limited in our damage compared to what you might be getting with a Nastia, but we're still going to keep stuff going. I mean, either way, Ingrid is by far the best DPS that we have, and Arrogance, while he does kind of need a good build, should keep us alive. Now, keep in mind, if you do leak, that's okay. You don't need to worry too much about leaking because it does not impair your score at all. All you need to keep in mind is that you cannot leak 3, you can only leak up to 2. So right there we leaked, which obviously is not good, but we're still going to be able to wail on the boss. And you can see the damage numbers going up and up. We are aiming for 250 million. And right there we got hit with the first really threatening ability where the stage just straight up crumbles. As you can see, now these tiles on the left are completely gone. Now the next one that hits is going to get rid of our best DPS, Ingrid, which is not great. Now, once again, I could swap things around, but I don't really feel like it because this should still get us our max score. As you can see, Talon's going to start to die pretty soon, which is obviously not ideal, but that's okay because she's done a little bit of extra damage, which is great. And we're going up even more, doing as much damage as we possibly can. And I mean, things are going decent. As you can see, Talon dies right there. Here we can put down our Wixera, whatever her name is, and try to do a little bit more damage. And we have hit the max score. And Ingrid has just died right there. We can put Ymrit down. Ymrit's there just for the slight extra damage. As you can see, it wasn't really needed, but all of the extra damage that you can get is a good thing. And that is basically the end of the run. Now, we're going to try to stay alive as long as possible. Obviously, it makes no sense not to, but for all intents and purposes, we have gotten as far as we can. We're going to probably get hit with another one of those AoEs. We're going to get absolutely ruined, and we're going to lose. Right there, bam, we get hit with the AoE, cripples our entire team. I guess I can put Ingrid right here just to try to get more score, but you can see we are over 300 million. There's a lot of room for error on this team, but once again, A3 Ingrid's a must, and we do have 2/3 of the poison comp, which obviously is not the most accessible thing that you can do. So right there, we're going to lose, and that is the end of the run. It's a little bit weird with the Talon but it does end up working. So that's the first strategy that you can use, the first general team comp. You do not have to use the Talon strat. You could do 2 units on the bottom to deal with the bottom. That definitely does work. But you can see Ingrid the Goat, Numera survived quite a bit longer. That's why her damage is so high. Born, Wukong, Talon, and then Arrogance is just for the bottom. That is the first way to do it. Also, gear very, very quickly. Soulbound on Vixera. She doesn't really need to do any damage, but she does have gear. Numera, Soulbound, as much attack as possible. Maybe 1 crit damage is good. I have not tested it, nor do I care too much, because this worked for me. Soulbound on Vorn, obviously, as well. Yimi is auto-equipped. He doesn't even have a matching left side. I didn't put any thought into him. He is there purely for the unnamed boost, or a little bit of extra damage. Next, Arrogance has Soulbound, obviously as much attack as you can. With his exclusive, you could run Realm Tear, you could run the AoE one, you could run the single target one. I don't know, it doesn't matter. Ingrid, we have as much attack as possible. Your best gear should go on your Ingrid if you are using her. Then we have Talon, who is going to be an Infernal Roar as well, with Icarus Chalice, like I mentioned before. Wukong, actually, shoot, Wukong is not geared. Okay, well, whoops. Then we get his exclusive as well. Diao Chen, as much attack as you can with a little bit of HP. And minus Keen Wisdom, try to do the exclusive if you have it. And then we have Aelin over here, who has as much healing stats as I could, as much attack speed, attack, and healing effect as I can muster with my build. Now the second team that I am going to be showing you guys is one that I don't fully understand, but I did see be very effective. The reason why I'm showing this one specifically is because not only does it not have Ingrid or any Watchers, not only does it not have Praetus or any Arbiters, not only does it not have the Poison comp or any Esotericists, it is a full score team that is viable and potentially usable, that uses Infernal and it uses Nightmare. Now there are 2 requirements for this. Awakening wise, nothing matters except obviously A1 Diao Chan, which if you don't have that, we just had a limited banner, and if you didn't pull for A1 Diao Chen and you're trying to do this stage on Nightmare, I think that's on you, respectfully. You also need A5 Wukong, which is obviously more understandable, and then A3 Hex. These are some decently hard requirements, but compared to literally 3 usable factions and a couple maybe niche ones, this is what you're gonna get for a more accessible team. So this is full credit, where credit is due. Disaster on Asia servers did 320 million with this strat. I'm going to be showing you guys a much lower number. As you can see by the pictures on the screen, we have a lot of damage on our hands. Now, I cannot replicate this damage, but I'm going to show you guys what I have done so far. We're going to go into this. The way it's going to work is I'm going to show you guys the beginning. Then I'm going to be skipping to the end and ignoring all the middle stuff, because otherwise this video will be half an hour long. What I have been doing is Hex right there. Like I said, this is the area where your best DPS is going to find a lot of use. But unfortunately, you're going to run into a lot of issues related to things like just simply your Hex is going to die early. But it's still, in my opinion, worth it. So I'm going to be doing it this way. Then we're going to click the ult, and that's it. Now, part of the reason why I'm doing it this way is you actually don't need to clear this group of enemies. All you have to do is you have to kill the tail before they go through the portal. So that's what we're going to be doing, because Hex is such a massive, monstrous DPS. And we're going on to the next phase. Now we get to where the placements really matter. So what we're going to do first of all is we're going to be doing Wukong right here. Then we are going to give him a Wings of Grace with Torador, who has Wings of Grace. We're going to sell Torador. Then we are going to put down Zillitu right here. This is where I've been using her the most. I think maybe placing her above may be better. So let me do that and I'll get back to you. Alright, I am back. Just to confirm, Wukong right there, we give him the Wings of Grace with Torador. Then we go ahead and we put Zillitu 1 tile closer. Then we give the Aelin Invig to them. Then we're going to do Moradin like this as you can see right there. We're going to face him up so he reaches the boss when the boss comes down. Then we're going to do Twin Feed here facing left. Because everyone around him is Invig already, he's going to give the Wings of Grace onto Moradin. Then we could sell Twin Fiend, who surprisingly is not going to get placed. And then on the bottom, we're going to do Hatsit on the right. And then we're going to do Eluin on the left right here. This is so that not only does it give rage at the top, but it also will allow Eluin to stay alive the longest, so that she continues to give rage even when everyone is basically dead. So just keep that in mind. Now, of course, there's probably multiple other ways to do this. You could maybe place Moradin on the bottom left and then move him later. But for this is the way that I've been doing it, so this is the way I'm going to show you guys. Now that we're here, we're going to start spamming ults. So the main thing is Wukong does a lot more damage when he doesn't have minus attack stacks. So when it resets, try to Wukong ult as soon as it does reset so that you can do extra damage. It's like triple the damage. It's crazy. So that is a big thing there. As you can see, we're gonna ult with pretty much everyone already, and we're just gonna have to keep an eye out on that. Now, spamming the ult, obviously we're gonna get more ults out, so it's really just all about balancing. So if you see that the stacks get reset, like right there, that's when we would want to ult. Now, of course, we're not going to do that because Wukong attacks way too fast, and he's obviously going to get full stacks immediately, which is not great, but it is what happens. Either way, we're just going to try to spam our ults as much as possible. Here, we're just going to wait on Wukong for a little bit in order to hopefully do as much damage, and we're just going to spam everyone else's ults. So we'll see what happens there. Bam. Click the Wukong ult, get 100k a hit. Generally, we're doing about 35k a hit, so that is almost triple the damage. That is very important, and that is what we're going to be doing the entire fight. Now, you can try to spam it. Maybe you build them with Rage Regen, you're able to spam it more often. But for this, I'm actually not really going to ult with him very often until we get to that. And we're going to do so much more damage. It's actually kind of wild. That's just a thing that I find really helps. So it's something that you guys should be doing as well. Just keep an eye out on that. And we're just going to do as much damage as we possibly can. Also, we are showing the entire run because I think that's so important. Anyways, we're going to just click our ults once again. Here, we just had our rage taken away and then everyone friggin' died, which is as expected. Of course, here we can place down our Torador facing up, which actually won't hit anything. So we're actually just going to put Twin Fiend here for a little bit of extra damage. I didn't think that one through, but that's okay. Either way, I clicked Wukong a little bit too early, which is obviously my mistake. So that's not great there. We're just gonna keep things going. Here we're gonna click Aelin ult and keep things going as usual. We have Twin Fiend here for a little bit of vulnerability stacks. And we also get to soup Izuluchu's damage up. Then as soon as the stacks reset, we're going to click our Wukong ult once again. Here we are at 220 million. This is where we start to lose. Now, I do think it is possible for you guys, maybe if you have better gear on your heroes, or maybe you figure out something a little bit stronger. I think there's definitely some potential to go the whole way with this. But considering this is technically budget for how difficult this boss is, this is pretty good. Now, I did the exact same gearing as I did on the other team, Soulbound with attack mains on basically everyone. And as you can see, I mean, we're missing one Ancient Shard, but this is pretty good. Now, Moradin's damage is doing a lot more than the guy I showed. His Wukong is doing so much more damage. I do not understand how. So, if you can figure out how to do that Wukong's damage, maybe leave it in the comments, and that would be very helpful. I don't know how. Okay, maybe he's getting enough Rage Regen to ult twice for every cycle of the stacks. I don't know. Either way, that's how I have figured out how to do it, and there's some room to improve, but ultimately that is a more budget comp. Now let me show you guys the Arbiter, and then I'll end off the video. The final team that I'm going to be showing you guys is utilizing factions that I have not shown yet. Piercer and Praetus, which is Arbiters. Now, You may see Ingrid and you may be like, oh, that's kind of a repeat. Ingrid does not get used at all, really. She's just kind of there on the bottom. And you can see that Cassiel, of all things, is insane. Now, this is the second highest damage dealer on the leaderboards right now. The first highest is this Nestia, which is doing a lot of damage. But this is a top 5 run. And while the gear and the awakenings are pretty insane, the nearest no poison comp is number 9, which also utilizes Cassiel, but nowhere near as well, but uses Ingrid and Pope to a higher degree. And either way, this is a pretty cool comp. I'm going to walk you guys through it, obviously, but while it's not the most accessible, it still is showing off how strong Arbiters can be in this. So this is the team. There's a couple things here. Yovar has Wings of Grace, and so does Ymrit. These two are not going to get placed at all. Ymrit is there not only to make Arbiters better, because that's just how Praetus works. It is also there because of the Ancient Blood, which increases damage from anyone on the team, as long as there's an unnamed there. So you could do Ymrit, you could do Ajax, doesn't matter. A2 makes it a bit better, but once again, not that big of a deal. And then Cassiel's the star of the show. Praetus and Hex do good damage. Let's just go into it. I'll show you guys how I place things, and then we'll just go into it. I mean, we'll go until there's nothing more to talk about. So here, we're going to immediately place Hex at the top. We're going to do Diao here. Like I said, we have Wings of Grace. So every single DPS is going to get Wings of Grace. So definitely be smart with this. Something you could do is you could do Valara with her facing down if you're struggling with these middle guys. If you're not, it's not really that big of a deal. But either way, we'll just place her there. And then what we can do is we can also put our we can put our Invig from Yovar onto her. Bam. Now she has Wings of Grace. Invig doesn't matter. And then we can do Cassiel. We can put the same thing on him, including Nerissa buff, which is not going to be as important, but I mean, it does in fact exist. We should swap Diao. We should click Valara for the extra range and the chain right here. You don't need Valara. Hex should be able to solo this fast enough to where we don't really need too much help. And then, like I said, Ingrid's not really that important. So what we're going to do is we're going to do our Praetus right here facing up. You maybe could face left to increase the damage on the hand. I didn't do that, so we're not going to worry too much. Ymrit's going to face towards Praetus, give him the Invig as well. And then we have our last 2 units, which are going to be Ingrid, and it's going to be our Eloin. So we're going to put our Ingrid, you can put her basically anywhere you want. I'm going to place her on the left here, just because she attacks sooner. And we're going to start clicking our ults. Here we're going to move Valara, face her up. We can trigger the Praetus Hammer right there, which is going to clear basically everything. We put down Eloin for that extra rage. Cassiel ult is going to be the most important thing here. So we're going to try to adjust our hammer usage to adjust to how Cassiel is ulting. That's very, very important because he does so much damage. So here we're going to hammer before he ults. You want to actually use your hammers less as a damage boost. Or, I mean, less than a damaging ult, but more as a damage boost. As you can see, Cassiel has ulted 8 times, I think. It's some ridiculous number that is probably too high. Probably should not be that high. But that is the number that it is. So, keep that in mind, that Cassiel is going to ult. That's 2 ults. That's 3 ults right there. 4 ults. 5 ults, 6 ults, 7 ults, 8 ults, 9 ults. He ulted 9 times. Do you see how dumb that is? It makes no sense. Like, who made him this way? Whoever did is a genius, and I freaking love them, and I will kiss them on the mouth. But, you know. Like, it's just, he's so cool. I love him. I think he's highly, highly underrated. Either way, everyone's doing their own job. We're going to start getting kind of shredded now. Unfortunately, we're about 380 million and still with a decent amount of damage to go that we can obviously adjust to. But either way, we're trying to burst it down. Cassiel's going to ult. We're going to click the Praetus Hammer just for that. Click Valara again right there. We click another hammer because its ults last so long. We could also do Ymrit facing up. It's not that Ymrit will really survive that long, but we could do a Wood Elf to kind of try to support him a little bit. Just how my parents supported me, you know what I'm saying? Either way, we're just going to keep things going as much as possible. Praetus hammering before Cassio ult. Even though our ults got stripped, we're completely fine. So now we're entering the area which we call the Cassio, Nerissa, and nothing else phase. This is essentially just we're waiting until we either leak or we get completely killed by the boss. And Cassio is going to wail on the boss. He's going to not only do that, he's going to keep Nerissa alive, providing healing. And then this unit right here, Diaochen, is going to consistently die, but we're just going to put whatever units have respawned back. And that's going to be the entire rest of the run. As you can see, we have already broken my previous record, which was about 480k. And we're just going to keep it going. I mean, why the heck not? The more damage we get, the better. Now, you can see Element's also trying to hold on for dear life, which is kind of nice of her. I would love if she could stay alive even longer, because, you know, I do like Element. And hopefully the Praetus hammers do kill some of these guys. Cassio just straight up attacked behind him, which is freaking weird, but I will 100% take it. And we're just going to keep on ulting. We broke 500 mil, or 500 million, and there we go. We have jumped up now, I think, to 3rd, maybe? And Cassio is a complete monster, doing 190 million damage. You know how crazy that is? Because that's freaking crazy. I mean, he was ulting 9 times in a row, over and over and over and over and over again. Cassio is the GOAT. I love Cassio, and he is very, very solid. Okay, 4th, not 3rd. Still, for no poison comp, which obviously I'll redo this with a poison comp, just to see what happens. See if I can take the #1 spot. Either way, this is insane, and Cassio is the GOAT. Don't sleep on Cassio. So, with that out of the way, those are 3 teams to deal with the boss. I really hope this helps. It is a very difficult boss. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Obviously, you need good gear. For context, the gear on this account is all Malric gemmed. It is all quads, as you can see. The artifacts are all Malric gemmed. I mean, the awakenings are crazy, right? I'm not saying that they're not. But you can see that there's a lot of different avenues you can go with this, despite it seeming hero locked. If you're missing something, I'm sure there's something in this video that might help you, and hopefully a team comp will get you to that 250 million. If you're struggling, there is nothing wrong with either taking a smaller reward or moving on to hard instead of nightmare. Once again, very difficult. So with that out of the way, thank you guys so much for watching. I do appreciate it. That's it for me. Destined signing out.